I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers stay as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peaceful state I'll stay.
Welcome back. Today we're getting into lesson 260. And this one, it really feels like a powerful capstone for this whole section we've been exploring on what is sin.
It truly does.
Yeah.
You know, the entire understanding of sin as it's presented, it ultimately boils down to just one fundamental error: forgetting our true source.
Yeah, and the feeling in the lesson, it's like an ending, but also a new start somehow. It's quite striking. We are closing out this whole exploration, but that shift in the lesson, moving from a personal prayer to this confident declaration, it feels like launching into what's next.
Definitely. Now, before we get too deep into it, just a reminder, we'd love to hear what you think. You can find us on social media. That's at the World Harmony Project, or shoot us an email, acim@theworldharmonyproject.org.
Okay, so let's read lesson 260 word for word, and then we can talk about why this recognition of our source is just so significant.
Lesson 260. Let me remember God created me. Father, I did not make myself, although in my insanity I thought I did. Yet as your thought, I have not left my source, remaining part of who created me. Your Son, my Father, calls on you today. Let me remember you created me. Let me remember my identity, and let my sinlessness arise again before Christ's vision, through which I would look upon my brothers and myself today.
Now is our source remembered, and therein we find our true identity at last. Holy indeed are we, because our source can know no sin, and we who are his sons are like each other and alike to him.
That line, in my insanity I thought I did, it always just grabs me. There's no sugarcoating the ego's grandiosity here. Believing we made ourselves is presented as literally a delusion. What parts of this lesson are jumping out at you?
I think for me, it's the way the voice changes within the lesson. That shift from the individual, almost hesitant I in the first part to that collective, certain we in the second. It feels huge. Like once we genuinely remember where we come from, that whole illusion of being separate just starts to crumble.
That shift in voice is so key, and I can see how it might confuse new students. The opening lines, that's clearly the student speaking, our personal prayer. Father, I did not make myself. It's admitting our confusion.
Right.
But then that gets interesting. Suddenly we're talking about ourselves in the third person, addressing my Father.
And that second paragraph, that's a total change. Holy indeed are we. That's not the confused student talking anymore. That feels like the Holy Spirit speaking with complete certainty about who we actually are. And Christ's vision, seeing truly, right? Seeing past all the ego stuff to the sinlessness in everyone.
Yes, it feels like we've reached a stage where we can finally stand up and say aloud, okay, I've misperceived, and actually believe it. And then the Holy Spirit is there confirming that belief in us.
It's quite brilliant, really, how we're guided through 259 lessons before we land here. If someone had told me on day one, you'll be declaring your sinlessness like this, I probably would have given them a bit of a side eye.
And think about how consistent the teaching is, that ideas don't leave their source. We've talked about that before. Lesson 260 connects it so powerfully to who we are. Our idea of separation, it's like a dream monster. It can't leave our mind, its source.
Exactly.
In the same way, we're God's creation. We can't actually leave our source.
That connection makes so much sense. No concept is wasted. Here at lesson 260, we're realizing, wait a second, I've been acting like I somehow just skipped out of God's mind and became my own independent thing. It's that same impossible idea, an idea trying to leave its source. No wonder we feel so anxious and cut off sometimes. We've been trying to do something that literally can't be done.
That's the illusion. And now, seeing that, we can start to let it go. And by the way, this is the last lesson under the What is Sin heading. That feels significant, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That's a big deal. Maybe it means this recognition I did not make myself is the final word on the whole concept of sin from this perspective.
I do wonder sometimes if listeners get a bit maybe bored or perhaps frustrated with the repetition. Only one error, a single misperception. We forgot who we are. These lessons really hammer that home again and again.
I can see that temptation to maybe skip ahead, like I felt sometimes when I first started thinking, okay, how many times do we need to hear about the one mistake?
But then, guess what? You go outside, you see some McDonald's trash in your yard, and boom, you're immediately wondering which of your terrible neighbors did this to you. That's why we get reminded over and over about the illusion of sin, our oneness, forgiveness, until we get used to taking these words off the page and carrying them with us to the post office. When someone blames us for something we didn't do, we definitely still need these loving reminders.
I know that feeling well.
The repetition isn't because the Course thinks we're dense. It's because the ego is just so good at its job. It never clocks out. So
Yeah.
these lessons are like spiritual physical therapy.
Yeah.
You don't do your rehab exercises just once and expect your knee to work perfectly forever, right?
And the amazing thing is eventually you do catch yourself mid-McDonald's litter rage and think, there I go again, making up a whole drama about trash when I could just pick it up. It's basically training us to notice when we've wandered off into the old story so we can choose again.
You know, I've been thinking about how central sin is in our day-to-day lives, how we often don't even see it. It's reflected constantly in our most popular TV shows, those judge shows, where the judge insults the defendant and we think, good, they're getting what they deserve.
Those judge shows are literally sin theater. Someone gets publicly shamed and we feel this weirdly righteous satisfaction watching. We're basically consuming judgment as entertainment, participating in this whole manufactured sin and punishment loop and calling it fun.
Or that person on the reality show who's edited to be the villain. We all jump on social media and add to the pile-on about how awful they are.
I've done it. It's like a strange form of social media bonding.
We consume movies about good versus evil all the time.
The Course makes us start noticing this whole ecosystem we've built around making people wrong and punishing them. Even that little dopamine hit from reading about someone's scandal.
It's no surprise the Course feels so radical. It's suggesting that maybe, just maybe, nobody ever actually did anything wrong in the first place. But we get so invested in needing someone to be wrong when anything happens. We'll literally invent perpetrators if we have to. I knew this guy once. He held on to this animosity for literally years towards a neighbor he'd never even met. Why? Because someone else told him the neighbor might have accidentally spilled some food on his car.
Wait, food? Seriously?
I'm serious. He wouldn't have even seen the mark on his back bumper if someone hadn't pointed it out. But he created this enemy out of the neighbor and kept his eye out forever, trying to figure out who it might have been. I mean, who would even think of doing that in a world where we genuinely reject the idea of sin?
That is just incredible. He literally conjured up an enemy from nothing based on hearsay about something he never saw, and then spent all that energy carrying this grievance around like some kind of treasure. In a world without sin as a concept, that whole scenario just couldn't happen. Specialist food on your car, okay, that's just a thing that occurred. There's no villain needed, no justice to demand, no dramatic story to keep alive.
That guy probably got more mileage out of feeling righteously angry than he ever would have from just, wiping his bumper. This extreme example really shows how deep that belief in separation goes. We make up villains. And lesson 260, having us declare, I did not make myself, directly undoes that whole manufacturing process. It pulls the rug out from under grievance. And what about that idea of the ego kind of enjoying unhappiness? where the person seems to almost like being a victim.
Yes, you see that sometimes, like people on social media who seem to catalog every single bad thing that happens. But what we're likely seeing are people who are identifying really strongly with their ego, which then reinforces that whole illusion of being separate from God, separate from Source.
From the Course's viewpoint, nobody actually enjoys being a victim deep down. But the ego loves that role because guilt, blame, fear, that's its bread and butter. It's like the ego is whispering, I'd rather you were miserable and felt separate than happy and connected. Because if you're happy and connected, I don't exist.
That makes total sense. The person isn't actually getting pleasure from the suffering itself, but the ego is using the suffering as evidence for the separation story. See? Bad stuff happens to me, therefore I must be separate, vulnerable, alone. Your guy with the car bumper is a perfect example. He wasn't having fun being mad about his bumper, but his ego was feeding on that grievance because it confirmed the whole narrative. I'm separate, people can hurt me, I gotta be vigilant, the world's a dangerous place.
And yet, aren't we really drawn to the happy people? The ones who don't fit that mold, they stand out so much. We call them rays of sunshine, happy campers, happy-go-lucky. We say we want what they have, don't we?
Absolutely. There's something magnetic about people who just opt out of the drama. They're like walking, talking proof that there's another way to exist in the world.
And it's funny how we often see their happiness as this kind of mysterious quality they were just born with. We admire it, but we often think they won some cosmic lottery or just lead charmed lives.
But from this perspective, they're probably just people who somehow haven't gotten too tangled up in the ego's victim story. You know, they get cut off in traffic and maybe they just think, that person must be in a rush, instead of automatically going to, that jerk disrespected me.
And sometimes when you're around someone genuinely happy, part of you feels peaceful, but doesn't another part sometimes feel almost threatened? Because if they can be content without all the drama we think is essential, what does that say about our approach?
Right. Sometimes we even try to pull them down into our grievances. Can you believe what so-and-so did? And they'll just be like, oh, that's unfortunate, and not by. It's like they're tuned into a different frequency where things aren't automatically personal attacks.
They're basically showing us what Lesson 260 looks like lived out. People who aren't trained to constantly manage everyone else's behavior. And they just don't leap to the conclusion that every problem needs a villain or is somehow about them. They're starting from a different baseline assumption about reality.
But the Course isn't asking us to just pretend, is it? We're not being told to slap on a fake smile. That would just be another ego game.
No, not at all.
But it is telling us there's another way to be here.
Yes, and we can learn it. But it has to start with recognizing how we are currently seeing things. Like Lesson 260 says first, you have to see, oh, wow, I've been living inside my misperceptions. You can't pretend you're not fuming about the McDonald's wrapper while you're secretly plotting against the neighbors.
Oh my goodness, yes. We're so practiced at seeing separation and wrongness that we almost do it for fun now. It's become the default entertainment.
That thought makes me a little sad. You know, when I first got to Lesson 260 and realized I still got caught up in those ego stories, I was so disappointed in myself. But here's the thing. For everyone listening, because of this work, I was able to talk about it. I noticed it. The fact that I'm not just on autopilot anymore, that tells me I'm starting to take these words off the page and actually live them.
We live in a world just brimming with ego triggers, and you're getting better at not letting yourself get hooked by the ego's drama around them. The fact that you're catching yourself, that's the miracle right there.
Ego triggers are basically the air we breathe in this world. But now you have this other voice available, the one that can ask, do I really need to make this mean something terrible, or can I just let this be what it is, ultimately meaningless in the grand scheme?
It's like the difference between being a terrified passenger in a runaway car versus being the driver who notices you're veering off course and can actually steer back. You're still dealing with the same bumpy road, maybe, but you're not helpless anymore.
Oh, that's a great analogy. To update it a bit, the ego is like one of those self-driving cars, you know. It convinces us it knows the way and we should just trust it. Then we look up and see where it keeps taking us and realize we have to grab the wheel. But we've let the ego drive for so long we barely remember how. The course, it's like the driver's manual.
That is brilliant. It perfectly captures how we just passively ride along while the ego takes us down Resentment Avenue, circles Victim Boulevard. Then one day we realize, wait a minute, how did I end up back at Righteous Anger Plaza? I swear I was just trying to get coffee.
I love it, yes. It's stuck on Victim Boulevard and it's time to go home. Let me take over this thing. This image of home being that place where you remember who actually created you, that's powerful. It's always just one turn away, no matter how lost you feel.
It gives such a concrete feeling to returning to our identity. Okay, so let's wrap up today's look at this final lesson in the What is Sin section with a really practical exercise. For those times we find ourselves spinning out in negative thinking, seemingly for no reason.
Yes, something tangible we can actually do when we notice we're cruising down Victim Boulevard again. Or getting lost judging everything in sight.
Okay, so what's step one? Always.
Pause. Pause. Take a breath. It yanks you out of the immediate emotional whirlwind for a second.
Okay. Step two.
That pause, it creates space. Space to wake up a little and identify the voice you were just listening to, the one you were identifying with, and just noticing the emotions non-judgmentally. That helps pinpoint the source. Because, as we know, if it's rooted in fear or anger, that's not the Holy Spirit.
And if you realize it is the ego doing the thinking, then you can remember, just like the lesson says, that you have another identity available. The real one. The one who didn't write this drama and doesn't need a starring role in it.
Right. So, step 3 is basically an internal declaration. You know what? I don't want to be here on Drama Road anymore. I'm choosing to return home, where love is.
Exactly. Just a simple, clear decision that you're done with the ego's guided tour of misery for now. You're not wasting energy fighting it or making yourself wrong for having the thought. You're just choosing a different mental destination.
You're choosing love, choosing your source, choosing oneness.
It's such a practical way to actually live Lesson 260, not just read the words. So the 3 steps are 1, pause.
2, ask who is thinking this.
And 3, choose to return home to love.
That's it. And I do like that driving metaphor. It gives me a really clear mental picture of taking back the wheel from that egoic autopilot mode.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope you'll take a moment to listen in this afternoon when we start discussing the next section, What is the Body?
Ooh, that transition to what is the body is going to be fascinating. See y'all next time.